This morning, I'm just going to read a quote out of a book instead of the first line. And this is out of the book, The Power of Imagination by Andrew Womack. Andrew Womack is an amazing teacher. I highly recommend him. Okay. But the doorway to our potential. Wait. I'm sorry. I purposely did not wear my glasses today. I'm trying to strengthen my eyes. Our imagination is the frame or spine of our existence. It's the doorway to our potential and affects the way we view life. I did a magazine edition on imagination at the beginning of 2024, and it was such a fun magazine edition. I'll put the link in the description so you guys can go get it. I highly recommend it, of course. But I learned so much about imagination, and this book was so powerful. I just fell in love with this book. And this is definitely one of those that you're going to want to reread, that you want to keep and pull out and read on a regular basis. So, and that's the book I pulled out for today. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned about imagination is, especially in the Hebrew word YETSER, which is often used to interpret the word imagination, and there's actually a few of them. But YETSER has the whole idea of like a potter with clay. So my stepdaughter and son-in-law are potters, and they're actually very popular. Their business is called the Clay Plant. You can find them on TikTok and all the other places. They're so popular that when they come out with a new release, they'll make the pottery, and then they'll announce a studio release so people can go and purchase it. They sell out in less than 5 minutes. At one time, we counted 3 minutes that it took them to sell out. So their biggest complaint is that people can't get their pottery. But anyway, all that to say, it's this idea, the imagination has this idea of a potter with clay. And so, how a potter takes clay and it forms it with its hands and forms it into a vessel. That's what our imagination does for us. So our imagination, we can have evil imagination. So the Yetzer word is often used in an evil what's that verse where it says mankind is imaginations is evil always, and that's kind of what that Yetzer is referring to. But we can also have which means I can say this because I'm someone who did this all the time, is those evil imaginations, meaning an evil foreboding, or as Joyce Meyer calls stinking thinking. That's evil imaginations. So getting up and imagining, oh, this is going to happen to me today. Nobody's going to like me. I'm going to be rejected by everybody. I mean, sometimes we actually really do say that to ourselves, but in the sense of, oh, I'm going to this gathering. Nobody's going to want to talk to me. They're going to laugh at my appearance. They're going to think I look funny. I'm going to sound stupid. That's evil imaginations. And we don't understand that our imaginations impact our choices, and our choices impact our words, and all of that impacts our life. And the direction of our life and the quality of our life. And so our imaginations are so important. And if we think ill of somebody, I really don't like that person, I wish that person would just go away, that impacts them as well. It impacts how we interact with them. We can pretend like we like them. But people know, I mean, people know whether they realize it or not. We all have that where you're around somebody, you're like, that just, something didn't feel right. That has to do with how we interact with each other on the spirit level. And you can't hide your imagination from your spirit. So one of the things that I was really encouraged when I did this Imagination magazine edition was I really needed we focus as human beings on changing our outward actions and appearances because that's what people look at. But the truth is, the only time there's transformation is when our imagination is changed. The imaginings of our heart, that is when our life is transformed. So I had to there were some issues in my life where I had to really capture my imagination and and then ask God, help me change what I think about in this situation. And I have to tell you, in fact, I shared this with a friend a few days ago. I'm like, my life is happier than it has ever been. And I want to tell you, nothing in my circumstances have changed. What's changed is I am learning to capture my imagination in those areas where it was always in the background, that just subtle, there's always something going in the background. I always had these thoughts going in the background about certain situations. And I was like, you know what? It may be true, it may be right. I may be having correct revelation and discernment about these situations, but that doesn't mean I need to think about that. What it does mean is to have the mind of Christ means, how do I think about that in the way that God thinks about that situation? And so it was like, God, help my imagination change, help my thoughts change. So whenever those old thoughts were coming in, and I still have a lot of work to do on, as the Holy Spirit continues to reveal different areas where my imaginations are wrong. So what he's doing and what he has taught me is to take that lump of clay, my mind, and I am changing it. And I'm asking him to show me, how do I mold it in a way that he desires, in a way that's honoring to him, in a way that he thinks about situations. And so that's what imagination is. Because every time you see a potter, or every time you think about something, I want you to think about a potter with clay forming a vessel, a bowl, a vase, a water pitcher, whatever it is. And if it's not serving you well, or it's something that God is saying, I don't like the way you've formed that, then ask him, show me how to change my imagination. Make my imagination like Christ. I want the mind, I want the imagination of Christ. And he'll show you. He'll probably put his hands on your hands and he'll help you mold that imagination in a way that now your life, one day you'll look up and you're like, my life is transforming and it feels effortless. And really, the effort is coming from changing how we're molding our imaginations. All right, I hope you found this helpful and fun. You have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.